cleared out like a crap ton of memory on my phone to record this. Hopefully it comes out okay. So yeah, I'll probably put it in the title, but my little sister, whenever she was a baby, almost got eaten by a bobcat. So we were camping. She was, gosh, I feel like she was maybe like a year old. She was really young. She was very small. She's 6 now, so this was quite a few years ago. I think I was like 17 at the time, maybe 18. We were camping in Georgia, and this was during the winter. It was very cold this trip. So you all may know what this campsite is based on my descriptions of it. But I don't know if I want to share it because I don't want anybody to like feel scared to go there. It is very safe. This was just a weird event because nature is unpredictable sometimes. So on this trip, we were going for a walk that first night that we got there. Just wanted to see like deer or, you know, and just enjoy the quiet of the forest. Also, this park is a registered dark sky park, which means you can see the sky better than anywhere else in the country. So, great place. There was like an amphitheater, and I would go there every morning to write work on my books. I would write scenes. I felt very inspired by the nature, and I'd also just go there in the morning, drink my tea, watch the deer. I mean, it was honestly really beautiful. But that night we went to the amphitheater, and it was set in this big field, and on the sides of the field were like brush, and on the way there we had to wind through paths that went through brush. They were like roads, but they were, you know, back in the woods. So we went there and we were just chilling, but I started to get like a feeling like I was being watched. And that was right as my little sister started to fuss and cry because, you know, she's a baby. And so she started to cry, and I started to get worried because I was like, that sounds like a prank call and there are predators around here, and it was scary to me. I know where this is going. So she was crying, and I started to get a bad feeling, like really bad. I started kind of freaking out a little bit. I tried to stay calm, but I was definitely very on edge. I think my family can attest to this. My mom was getting the same feeling as well. And we like saw an animal in the bushes, and we kind of gathered that it was like stalking us. And I said it was a bobcat, but either my family didn't hear me or they didn't think it was a bobcat based on the way it looked. But in my heart, I was like, that's a bobcat. Which, I mean, there are bobcats all over. There are bobcats where my parents live now. Like, I'm not afraid of a bobcat necessarily, except for this one particular camping trip. So we went to the amphitheater that night, didn't get eaten, all was fine. The week goes on. We stayed there for like a week. And during the day, I was fine. In the morning, as you know, I'd go to the amphitheater, I was hiking, lots of stuff. I was super active, having a great time. But at night, I was scared to even like leave. I was scared at the campsite, let alone anytime I had to go to the bathroom on this trip. I was scared at night because I felt like I was being watched. I mean, it like gut-wrenching horror movie. I felt like I was being watched, and I was right. So on like the last day that we were there, My little sister was in like a bouncer that we had attached to the trees, and it was right next to a hammock, and I was in the hammock for a while and she was in the bouncy thingy. I actually fell asleep because I was exhausted after that long trip. So anyway, that night it was supposed to be really cold, but the skies were going to be really clear. And my grandma had gotten me a telescope, and I really wanted to use it. We had set it up a couple times on the trip to like get a feel for it, but that last night it was going to be our last chance there at the Dark Sky Park, as well as it was going to be the clearest night that week. So we had to do it. It was also the coldest. I have seldom been so cold as I was on this trip and on this night. I was so cold. I was not prepared adequately, apparently. It didn't snow, but it was just very, very cold, like biting cold. So we had set up the telescope that night. My dad and I had looked at the moon. I have some pictures in my camera roll of the moon that we took that night. I might try and see if I can find them. I don't know if I can, but I'll try because they were really cool pictures. So if you see them in the video, then they're there. And I was working on my writing, but I was actually so cold that I couldn't sit still at my laptop. Like, even the keys were freezing. So I had to keep walking around. And at one point in the night, my mom was on the ground with my sister, just letting her rest. And my mom was just relaxing, and we were showing her pictures of the moon and stuff. And I sat down and I started writing, and my mom had a clear view. So I sat down on the bleachers in the amphitheater. I was here, my dad's here, my mom was over here. My mom looked like past my legs, like through my legs towards the brush on the other side of the bleachers, and she saw something creeping towards us. She said, "Sarah, get up on the bleachers." So I did. I kind of immediately knew what it was. It was like I automatically knew, oh, this is what's been stalking us this whole trip. It was like I just knew. So I jumped up on the bleachers and I started making noise, stomping, anything I could to just scare it away. And I kind of did. We kind of managed to scare it away, but my mom got up. She was getting up. We were kind of panicking a little bit because we knew that it was going after the most vulnerable, the thing that would be the tastiest meal, the smallest perfect meal would be the child. So we kind of once it went away, we kind of stood there for a minute. We were scanning the trees with a flashlight, and we saw it coming from the other side of the brush. It had snuck around. It was coming from the other brush. So we were like, okay, we gotta go. So we packed up and we got my mom to the car, which we kind of just she was carrying Abigail and blankets, and oh my gosh, it was crazy. And we got her into the car, and I went back out with my dad to get the telescope and stuff. And I was honestly panicked because I had never been, well, okay, there are other instances of animal stalking, but those are other stories that I will definitely share. But this time I was definitely freaked out, and this was also the fate of my telescope. I ran into it. I had set it down. I had leaned it up against something or something. I forget what I did, but I went to grab something and I ran into it, and my telescope fell and hit the wooden bleachers on the way down, and the phone mount got broken. It didn't work anymore. So yeah, that happened. We were still able to use my telescope though. I'm not sure where it is now, but we were still able to use it. But yeah, it was definitely quite an experience. Yeah, so that's just one of the many crazy stories that I've had in my life. I want to start sharing them I also just have a lot of details from my own life story that might help people. My therapist has suggested that I write a book about my life, but I'd rather vlog it or do story times. I think that'd be easier. So I hope you enjoyed, and I will hopefully have more coming. Have a nice day.